Hi Jason.
Hello.
Thank you so much for letting me come have a chat with you today.
Thank you for having me.
So you're an incredible singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist and all the things, and you live in Belgium.
Yes.
I'd
4
like
years
to know how. How did you end up here?
Well, I used to travel up here for gigs. I used to play at 5 Church Street. Friends of mine in Newcastle told me about Belgium and sung its praises, told me that I would love it very much. And sure enough, first time I came here, I adored it, and I made friends very quickly. And I was coming up here for years, quite often, every couple of months. And finally the opportunity to move here came up, and I moved, and it's been 4 years now, and living in this little bliss bubble, and I love it very much.
Wow, so you just leapt at it. You're like, this is destiny.
Yeah, it always felt right. It was like a deep exhale coming up here. It was felt like a healing, a regenerative place for me. So.
Wow. Have you noticed it impact or change your creativity?
Yeah, I think so, and my lifestyle in general. It just suits me perfectly. I could just be myself here, but it's also deepened my, I guess you would say, my calm, my inner calm, and my kind of like my spiritual sense of being feels very much at home here.
So you've noticed your songs literally change when you write, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, more of the spiritual part of me has come into the music. It's the new music's not by any means devotional music, but it's there's a bit more of this kind of Taoist philosophy kind of creeping in, and just I've always written about nature and about kind of deep philosophical, personal things, themes on love and landscape and travel and all the depths of life. I'm a Scorpio, what can I say? And here it just enhances that. The lifestyle here really supports it.
Beautiful. I guess there's less noise to distract you.
That too, that's a big one. Yeah, living this pure existence, rainwater coming out the tap, no traffic, no traffic lights, just community, small town living, just it's glorious, surrounded by a divine nature in every direction. It's incredibly nourishing for me.
This is not an advert to move to Belgium, by the way.
Yes. I'm definitely giving it a good pitch.
Yeah. So before we go any further, I'm just going to be cheeky and ask you to start with a song today. Is that all right?
Of course, yeah.
Beautiful.
This is kind of an older song of mine now, but it's the first one of a new batch that I wrote for my last album. And it's called The Sea of Home.
I will love you, I'll be there too, though I only weigh down to the water. All of this we grew into the water, all into our home. It's all your dreams, all your heart's desires. They have withered from this wavelength into the water. You will let me go into the water. All of this will flow. Just a girl, when I found you there one day. We've known a love divine. We're torn apart far too many times. You will need to be alone again. Into the world. You will let me go into the world. I'll be there into
Thank you.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, this was the first song of 12 that I wrote for my last album, and it's kind of the song about the ending of my first relationship, which had been 5.5 years. And to cut a long story short, we both found ourselves in Hawaii. I was living in Canada, and my partner at the time, she'd been traveling around the world, and we'd spent a long time in Canada together, just roughing it. And we reunited there after some time apart, and something had shifted, and it was a terrible shock to me. But my partner had this awakening. You know, she'd really come into herself, and which was marvelous, and that's kind of what we'd hoped would happen. But just seemed like I wasn't a part of the picture anymore. And so we had to live together for a couple of months in a little caravan and work together every day.
While separated.
While separating. I was there woofing in Hawaii. We both were. So it was this grueling, arduous, just tumultuous, painful experience. And I'd been missing the ocean dearly, being a surfer all my life, and being there in Hawaii in the Pacific Ocean in the warmth after having just left the terribly cold, difficult Canadian winter. It was, the song's kind of a love letter to the Pacific Ocean as well, being that it was the same ocean that I grew up by, and it was a source of great healing for me, so yeah.
That's beautiful. I think that's what I love about you. You're so vulnerable. You have the ability to be vulnerable.
Thank you.
Yeah, but articulate as well. And not only is that a part of your character when you're speaking, but it comes across in your music. Like your heart is on your sleeve and your lyrics are amazing.
Oh,
and I appreciate that. And I understand that your writing process is a very deeply personal experience. And can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, what is Jason's writing process? How does it begin, develop, and end the birthing of a song?
Well, thank you for the wonderful compliments. And that's a great question. For me, it's such a cosmic thing. You know, the songs come to you, and it's a very interesting difference about music and painting. And I think Joni Mitchell put it really well. She talks about writing songs like peeling the layers off your own onion. You know, it's this painful uncovering, deeply personal, vulnerable, raw experience. Whereas painting is like down to synapses and commands, intuitive commands, and it's very much a meditative process. But I think writing music can be the same. But for me, they just come usually when I'm emotionally stirred somehow. It's like there's some kind of experience in you, some kind of emotion that wants to come out, and the music just provides the atmosphere for it and the canvas. And then you start laying down your colours, and the best songs are the ones that come through you. You don't even know what they're about. You're just a channel, really, like an antenna. They just flow through. It's the most incredible thing. You really feel in touch with the miraculous. To quote Joni again. And that's kind of it for me. I'm just always waiting for those moments when something wants to come through.
So I do ask musicians this quite a bit, and it sounds like there's a dance between music not being of you but being of you. You know, because the ego wants to identify with things, but you're saying, you know, it's a cosmic thing. Do you identify with your songs being yours in the end, or are you still like, I don't know, I just help myself get through something?
It's another great question. I don't take that much credit for them, no. I kind of give credit where credit's due. I very much see myself just as a vessel, really.
Conduit.
Like, not saying that I'm in touch with, you know, I'm this divine, holy being.
No, but the artists are. You know?
Yeah, it's like there's something that comes through. We are like these antennas, and I'm all about not identifying with the ego.
Yeah.
You know? So it's it's a beautiful thing, and I'm just infinitely grateful that I have this in my life. I can't imagine not having it. I was a painter since I was very young. Music came much later on, and music very much became the thing that was like my lifeblood. And it is hard to imagine a life without it. It's yeah, I hope that answers your question.
No, it does. You got ahead of me. I was going to talk about your painting, and I was like here thinking I was in control of my little questions. No. But I definitely want to talk about your painting because, you know, you're obviously a master at at your craft with music. So I was blown away when I found out that you were a master of oil painting. And yeah, you need to tell me a little bit about that, because what came first, music or painting?
Painting, yeah.
Painting.
From a young age, grade 1, I became this very prolific, very driven, focused young visual artist. I would run home from school. I couldn't wait to get home and pull some paper out and sharpen my pencils and begin drawing the next thing. I was incredibly driven, and that sustained until I was in my teens. And it's when I hit my teenage years that I kind of felt a little bit lost. And but then I met a mentor, and he's a photorealist landscape painter from Newcastle, and I kind of found my feet again. But at the same time, music was creeping into my life when I was, 16, 17. I was playing bass in some high school punk bands, and then around 17, 18 is when I bought this guitar, and because it had been speaking to me.
The lap steel.
Yeah, the lap steel guitar. I was obsessed with Xavier Rudd, Ben Harper, John Butler. All of us were, Jack Johnson. There was this wonderful roots music kind of boom. And this instrument was just calling me, and it just took over. I didn't paint for 8.5 years after that. I just did music full time.
Wow. And it has become a signature for you. Like when you type in Jason Lowe into Google, it's like world-class lap steel guitarist. It's amazing because you have really found your anchoring with it. I mean,
it was the most incredible thing to happen to me, really. I'd have to talk at length to tell you the whole story, but the instrument came to me in the most kind of cosmic, miraculous, destined way. And people have always really responded well to it. I think just in general they love the instrument, but there seems to be, from what I gather from people's kind compliments and feedback, there seems to be something about my music and my soul in particular that comes through this instrument.
So well. Yeah, it's hypnotic. It's very hypnotizing.
Yeah, which I'm just amazed by when you receive feedback from people at gigs. It just amazes me what people will tell you.
Amazing.
That the music's doing these incredible things for them, and it just fills me with gratitude because it's just an intuitive path for me. And it's something I love, and if I can be of service, if I can have something to offer that can benefit others, then I'm thrilled, but it's no guarantee.
So I'll just circle back to the painting. Are your paintings plein air? Are you out there with the elements, fighting the winds, fighting the rain?
Sometimes I'd like to be doing more of that, because Monet is my painting hero, and he was a master of that. So the en plein air artists of the late 1800s, they're great inspirations to me. But I definitely haven't paid my dues out there yet. It's incredibly difficult.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just, that's why Van Gogh was so quick. He was just like, da-da-da-da-da, gotta do it. And then otherwise you're there and the light changes and then you curse your painting.
Yeah, it drove Monet mad. He talks about it at length, the frustrations of the light changing and it's incredibly difficult. Not just because of lighting changes, but as you say, wind, bugs. All these bugs fly into your painting and slowly die as they crawl past through what you've done. You come back home, there's this big long bug line through your paint. You've got to go and repair it. So I'm trying to be less precious about all of that too, because I was a realist when I was younger, and so I'm still trying to shake off my realist tendencies, where I like everything to be pristine and realistic looking and neat. Yeah. I'm trying to embrace more of the Van Gogh style of just thick and loose and wild and expressive and raw and
Beautiful.
So but old habits die hard sometimes.
Yeah. You should tell me a little bit about this dream of applying for a grant to do this series of
reflection paintings, water reflections. Yeah, they're inspired by Monet's Water Lily series, and there's this museum in France, I think it's called Musée de Lingerie, probably pronounced that wrong, but he designed it to be in the shape of an infinity symbol with semicircular walls, and as you walk the shape of the infinity symbol, the paintings change from time of day to season, and they're massive, they're gigantic, and they're all water lily paintings. And they're my favorite works on earth, and he wanted that place to be a sanctuary for people from the horrors of World War II, and he donated those paintings to the French government, I believe. And so it's long been the inspiration for me to try and paint more like Monet, him being my ultimate painting hero. And I just stumbled upon this idea here in Bellingen, just taking photos of these water reflections one day, that I could do these multiple panel works of just close-ups of tree reflections and sky reflections and interesting, rocks coming from below, and just, I'm entranced by them. And I've only created studies so far, but the hope is that I can potentially get a grant so that I can hire a space and paint them massive with tubs of paint. I just can't afford it otherwise. Oil painting is terribly expensive. Yeah. And so there's a dream. There's a dream there I'm working towards slowly but surely.
And when you're switching between these two modalities, music and painting, do they feed off each other? Like, are you sometimes painting and then a song just springs into your mind? Or are you sometimes on the keys and you get a vision for a painting? Or are they very much separate?
I wish that would happen, but they feel very much separate to me, for sure. But then again, they're intertwined. I'm expressing similar things. It's all about expressing my love of beauty, really, when you boil it right down. Painting is me trying to capture what I perceive as beauty. And it's the same in song. I could be singing a love song about a romance that ended, but it's always filled with insights about the kind of wisdom that you can attain from hardship and sorrow. There's always that element of the lightness and the darkness, you know, in both painting and music for me. So there's always this positivity, there's always this great appreciation of beauty, this love of beauty and wisdom and learning and growth and expansion.
So what's the biggest thing you've processed you want to share? I mean, it sounds like there's been something that's been a massive...
Yeah, I mean, love's been a great teacher, as it is for all of us, but I think the greatest things I've learned from love and life, but particularly love, are these kind of Taoist practices of non-attachment and no expectations, no desires. Impermanence. Just, it's by no means detaching yourself from things so that you're numb and that you're not connected. You're very much full of a sense of wonder of all things and appreciation and gratitude for all things, yet at the same time you identify how the ego likes to cling, and it likes to dream, and it likes to hunger and desire and try to control things or want things to be a certain way. And you detach from that and you simply allow things to just be and to flow as naturally as they can.
Without letting a nihilistic voice take over saying, well, everything's doomed anyway.
Yeah, and also filtering out that too. You know? Just trying to be present. Beautiful. Always, and grateful always. Beautiful. And kind always. Compassionate, live as harmoniously as possible.
Beautiful. So do you have any other just completely unrelated random talents? Like, are you really good at flossing your teeth, or like wearing 3 hats, or sewing, or I don't know?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do okay at bodyboarding.
That's right, you did mention that.
I'm an okay
That is random.
Yeah.
That is random.
Yeah. There's this thread of water through my life though now, so it is kind of related really. You know, I'm a water sign, painting water reflections, singing about Taoist themes on water, fluidity of being, you know, and I'm a bodyboarder. And
yeah, maybe it's not that
I grew up by the ocean, you know, it's,
it's not that unrelated.
Yeah, but I can't think of anything else. I can't juggle or anything like that. I can't even whistle, so, you know what.
We'll leave this interview and you'll be juggling oranges in the backyard.
Yeah, there's got to be something, right? There's got to be a secret talent. I'm pretty good at video games.
There we go.
I don't play any video games, but when I do play with friends, sometimes
you surprise
I'm
yourself.
Good at, does that count?
That totally counts. It's just giving a peek into the other world of Jason.
Yeah.
Let's circle back to writing with music. What's some of the biggest trials and tribulations you've overcome with just writing?
Oh, yeah. Just the self-critic, really, I'd say is the main opposition I've encountered. Self-doubt, comparison. I've, in recent times, experienced that. I've been doing it for 15 years. And for the most part, it's all just been a beautiful, breezy, fluid flow. But in the last couple of years, I definitely, I kind of had a burnout, really, from pushing with gigs. And that coincided with this collapse in self-confidence. I'd started to learn a bit of music theory because I've always just played by ear and been self-taught. And I started to examine the artists I admired and the complexities of their music, and I started to compare that with my own music, and I became terribly unconfident, and it took me a while to dig myself out of that ditch, and there's still elements of it that are clinging to me. I'd say that's been my biggest obstacle. You know,
and you weren't writing when you were in the throes of that? I
was trying to, desperately, but everything I was writing I wasn't enjoying. I just, and even now I look back on things I wrote then and I can tell that I'm trying too much to be something that I'm not. But now it's starting to work its way into a harmony where a bit more kind of complex musical influences are starting to filter in more naturally. I'm not striving too hard to make my music more complex. I've been playing a lot of piano, and that's been filtering in wonderfully into my music. But yeah, I had to claw myself out of there. It was definitely a low point.
Do you think you cling to a sound, or like what could go with that? Because now that things are flowing naturally, have you found that it is similar to the past, or is there something completely new that's come through and you're like, oh, I didn't expect that? Or
yeah, great question again. Love your questions. There is a lot of what I would say is my natural style still there, and joyfully, that has been enhanced by, you know, the evolution of all these years and recent explorations. But also completely new things are coming out. Like I have a brand new song I've just been recording, because I'm currently recording new singles. It's called There, and it sounds very Spanish, and I laugh about it, and it's hilarious to me, but it's beautiful to me. It's come from this Leonard Cohen influence, where he kind of infused Spanish or Mexican music into his writing, and I've taken that and it's become a part of my music. But this one particular song, it's sounding very Spanish, and that's totally new for me, and I can't wait to hear what people think when they hear it. And
it's amazing.
It'll surprise some people, I think.
Because so many of the greats did do that. You know,
Yeah.
Bob Dylan and Leonard Cohen, all these people
Always
that
changing.
just change. But as long as you keep your voice
Yeah.
as the anchor,
Yeah.
hell, make a drum and bass track.
Yeah, I'd like to do more of it, you know.
Yeah.
I'm open to it, and I don't push it so much, you know. Like I've always, in that low point I was explaining, that crisis of self-confidence, I was experimenting a lot with writing methods and the approach to writing, and I've always been very much kind of the Neil Young method of just picking up the instrument, seeing if something's there. If it's not, put the instrument down, go and do something else. Just
Really?
wait until the muse comes.
Wow, it's Crazy Horse, he called it.
Yeah, you know, you just wait until the muse is there. But I started trying to work like every day for 4 hours and approaching it more.
Sounds like a Nick Cave style.
Yes, he was one of the examples I read about. There's a great book called Songwriters on Songwriting. It's a big, thick volume with interviews of every great songwriter you can imagine, all about the craft and the process. And there was people like Randy Newman, Nick Cave, that approached it like a job. And I tried that.
Didn't work.
And it doesn't really work for me.
But that's fun.
So evolving myself musically, it's also something I don't really push. I just kind of see what filters in and see what comes out.
But you have drive. So what does drive
I'd
you?
like more of it.
But what does drive you?
I think just that that desire to just capture what is beautiful to me. There's this, I'm just compelled to do it. It's this intuitive journey for me, where I'm just naturally made to want to express myself through music or art and in other ways. It's a marvelous journey to me. It's magical, and I cannot imagine life without it. So I'm driven in that sense, like just intuitively compelled. But I'm not, I lack a lot of drive, I think, and discipline when I compare myself to other artists that I admire. And especially when it comes to pushing one's career, you know, I'm definitely not very good at that business things, you know. So it would be great to have more drive, but I'm pretty happy where I am too, so.
Well, it's interesting you say you couldn't live without it, because my next question was, where do you think Jason would be if he wasn't doing music and painting?
Oh man, I cannot imagine.
Circus, plumber,
Man.
astronaut,
Oh,
gypsy in Croatia.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I feel like I just wouldn't exist, you know.
Really?
I really feel like I wouldn't exist. It just wouldn't be me. That's as much as I can
Say to that. No,
feel
that's
about it,
beautiful.
Yeah.
You've performed with so many different people. You support them, you play alongside them, you've asked to be stepped in as a session musician. Who would be your ultimate collaboration?
Ultimate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, let me think. I mean, Joni Mitchell, of course.
She's going to watch this.
Or Leonard Cohen if he was still with us. But in terms of kind of modern day artists, like, you know, rather than referring to all my classic heroes, I'd really love to work with someone like Sharon Bennett or Laura Marling. I really admire those two artists, or Angel Olsen. They're some of my favorite modern day artists. But yeah, you know, I'd love to work with Dylan or Leonard or Joni or Neil Young.
Yeah.
It would be awesome.
So many people.
But that's aiming for the topmost, you know.
Hey, you got to aim for the top. You got to aim for the top.
Yeah, session work. I get a great deal of joy from session work. I've just recently played with Melody Poole. I don't know if you know Melody Poole. Wonderful singer-songwriter. And we've got a wonderful collaboration happening, and I'm playing slide guitar and maybe guitar and piano down the line, but yeah, it's great. It takes all the pressure off. I just get to enjoy trying to complement other people's music. I don't have to be the one.
For Joe soon, Joe Newton.
Yeah, playing on Joe's new songs. I've played with Joe sometimes, and I had a great pleasure to play with Lisa Mitchell when I lived in Melbourne. She's a dear friend.
Many.
Yeah, Kim Churchill.
Yeah, of course.
Get up and jam with Kim whenever we do shows together, and that's always fun.
That's great. So what's next for Jason, or the future of Jason? Like when you picture and you close your eyes, like, this is where I'm going.
Oh, for now it's all about these new songs. I'm just recording new songs. I hoped to have an album by now. I had enough songs for an album, but most of them I've discarded. So I'm kind of doing the modern method of releasing single by single, and after incrementally releasing about 4 or 5 of those, I'm hoping I'll have a full album worth.
Yep.
And then I'll drop an album, and I'm hoping to tour again next year, and maybe even towards the end of the year get back out there. I've taken a bit of a break, not just because of COVID, but I really needed to have a break from the whole push of things. Yeah, so it's just recording and playing a few shows.
Beautiful.
Yeah, simple.
All right, well, my final question, if you could send a text to all the listeners you have on Spotify, what would you tell them? What was a little message you'd give to your fans?
I'd just tell them that I'm infinitely grateful for their support.
Beautiful.
It means the world.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'd like you to play one more song.
Sure.
Wonderful. What's this one called?
This one's called When a River Parts, and funnily enough, you should mention the Spotify, because this song got picked up by this program in Europe of these carpenters that they kind of practice like old carpentry methods from Northern Europe, and they're called the Northmen. And long story short, this particular video, they're making a canoe out of a tree just with hand tools. And they asked me very kindly if they could use this song for their video, and they said, we can't offer you any money, but our videos get good views, and your music makes us feel like we want to be better people.
Oh, beautiful.
It's so touching. And so I said, of course, go for it, use the song. And the videos had like 6 million views or something now.
Perfect.
And I got all these European fans flooding in. And so this is a song about right before that first love and I took off to travel around the world. We felt very torn that our paths were kind of taking us different places. We knew we would reunite again at some point, but it was difficult for us, being inseparable and then not knowing when we'd see each other again. And we were camping at Wilson's Promontory, and right by the river. Once again, the theme of water coming through. And this song just kind of came through me, and I didn't play the slide guitar for a long time. I put it away for many years, and this was the first song that came to me when I picked it up again, and right before I moved to Canada. Beautiful. So it's been kind to me, and I think you probably could say it's my most popular song.
Wonderful.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
bathed in the golden light. In such a time we lived of wonder. Another cold now awaits, and certain things are weighing our feathers, and so we fly away. And I'll go with all I know to seek the sounds of our dreaming, and come what may, and come what will, then I'm home again.